You can take everything I have. You can break everything I am like a skyscraper or whatever.
You started way too early in the chorus there.
Yeah, I know. I spent the entire week just kind of going back and forth on where do I start? Whatever. Skyscraper. Aper. It's Aper. Okay, so Dwayne Johnson is
the man.
He is the man. He is the biggest movie star on the planet right now. Well, one of them. Mostly because he's in so many movies a year now that they almost start to meld together.
This is our fourth Dwayne Johnson movie on here. We don't need to tell you how great Dwayne Johnson is.
Yeah, essentially, the guy is multi-talented. He's charismatic as hell, and any movie with him gets a little bit of a boost just from his mere presence.
With that being said, this movie is very interesting.
This movie joins the ranks of Die Hard, but now, if you don't know what that means, it's like Speed, Die Hard on a bus. It's like the Towering Inferno, Die Hard, but everything's on fire. This one, it's Die Hard, but the guy is a former FBI agent and military man who lost a leg.
And also takes place in the world's tallest building.
In Hong Kong, because that's where most Hollywood studios are realizing they can sell a shit ton of tickets now.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about this is the director is Rawson Marshall Thurber?
Yes.
Okay, I was making sure that was in the correct order. But if you have never heard of him, go to your DVD collection and take a look at the movie Dodgeball. Now look at the credits on the back of the box.
He co-wrote and directed Dodgeball.
Actually, he wrote it himself.
He wrote and directed Dodgeball, one of Ben Stiller's greatest comedies that he did not direct.
Yes. So what we essentially have but that's the weird thing, because this movie is not a comedy. This movie is a serious movie being made by a comedy director, and this isn't like he's a director for hire. Like, they were like, well, we got the screenplay, what do we do with it? Hand it over to this guy. He did some decent work.
It's like The Rock was like, I worked with this guy in Central Intelligence, he might be able to do it. No, he worked on
He's the only credited writer on this movie. That means that this is an idea that he came up with and developed all the way up until the second they were in the editing bay.
And he brought it to The Rock, to Dwayne Johnson, and he said, hey, what do you think about this movie? And he was like, I'm in, let's do it. And then when they were working on Central Intelligence, and so, yeah, we got a guy jumping from hardcore comedies to this.
But he's coming back to it with his next movie, which also kind of stars The Rock.
But I imagine it's probably gonna lean more towards the action stuff than the comedy stuff again. So,
but we'll see how that goes. But either way, Skyscraper is honestly, I didn't even want to see this movie. It just kind of seemed dumb.
But then we started seeing the trailers more and more as we were going to every time we went to the movies.
And it was, I mean, by, like, what was it, Solo?
Yeah, Solo is when you leaned over and said, this looks better and better every time I see it.
And so basically we decided we have to see this movie. Not because we are expecting a good time, but because we're expecting a good time, but not because we're expecting a good movie. We're not like asking for a huge, big game changer. We're asking for a dumb, fun action movie starring The Rock in all of his glory.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're gonna get that. What else is there to say? Nev Campbell's in the movie. We have never seen the Scream franchise in our lives, so that's pretty much all we know about Nev Campbell.
Yeah. We don't know much else about the rest of the cast because it's a lot of lesser known actors. The villains seem very underplayed in the advertisements. It seems like it's a lot of action set. The advertisement seems to lean more heavily on the action set pieces than the bad guys.
Well, it does seem unlike Die Hard, the whole plot here is just he needs to get back in the building. The main point of the movie is he needs to get back in the building and then kill all the bad guys.
Yeah. However, I bet you $5 there's going to be a secret villain reveal in this movie.
Probably. We'll see what happens. But either way, hey, this movie is going to be interesting. I'm not expecting much. I'm not expecting like high caliber blockbuster, but I just want to be smiling at certain points to just be like, this is ridiculous and I love it.
Yeah. So I don't think I have anything else to say anymore.
Yeah, so I think we're good for right now. So we will see you guys after the jump. It's probably going to be a little darker out, or you'll probably hear the pitter patter of the rain a little louder.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. So, overestimated a couple things, like how long it was going to take for the sun to set, or how long this storm was going to go through. But the movie was okay.
It was really good. It was really good. Good.
It's look. Look, you're not going into this movie expecting like the best action movie of the summer, but for a decent distraction for 90 minutes, it's good.
Yeah. It definitely has some stuff that's worth watching. Got some pretty interesting suspense, and I just kind of attributed it to basically a good way to describe it is a block of Swiss at the Last Supper. It is holy as hell. It is extra holy and extra cheesy.
Yeah. Essentially, so let's get into it. Surprisingly, a halfway decent action director. Marshall Thurber is a halfway decent action director, actually.
Yeah.
So, which is look, we haven't seen Central Intelligence, so we don't know how well he did with that action, but with that kind of action. But he's a halfway but he's an almost decent action director. I mean, we're not talking an Edgar Wright or a Steven Spielberg, but you kind of get an idea of where things are.
Yeah. We got Dwayne Johnson, who. Surprising thing about this entire performance is he's mortal.
Essentially, essentially what comes with the whole Die Hard but thing is that when you're making the main character, you have to make it so that they can be hurt somewhat easily. So that's what, like when John McClane basically was crippling himself throughout most of the original Die Hard, like how Keanu Reeves was getting hurt during Speed, all that. So basically, for this, Dwayne Johnson. He's not for a little bit in little places. He's like limping a little bit because of the supposed prosthetic leg his character is supposed to have. But other than that, he's fine. But then for whole chunks of the movie, he's getting hurt. He's getting stabbed. He's getting really, really hurt. So he starts to move like that.
He's getting injured in ways that he doesn't normally get injured in his movies. Like he's usually got God mode on in his movies.
Well, at least in the movies of his that we watch for the novelty of watching The Rock do incredibly, stupidly, over-the-top action sequences.
Yeah. But the fact that they let Dwayne Johnson get injured and that they let him get beat up and just continue to be that way, I don't think any movie of his, I don't even think he's actually been, well, okay, we've seen him be injured once, but then he just flexed out of the damn cast and picked up a minigun, crashed an ambulance into a drum, picked up a minigun, and shot a fucking helicopter out of the sky.
Yeah, but essentially this movie, that's one positive that this movie has. While this movie is not the kind of movie that you take even a little bit seriously. This is like. It's basically like a big Saturday morning cartoon, to the point that one of the villains literally has a German accent so fake it makes Colonel Klink look like Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
So you don't take this nearly as seriously as most action movies, but when they decide let's give some stakes by having the main character get hurt in one scene and he's still carrying it around in the next scene, then you got at least one thing going for you.
Yeah.
That's one thing that the writing does well. Something that the writing doesn't do, that the writing almost doesn't do kind of as well, is the fact that almost everything that you think is going to come back when it's set up in the first 10 minutes kind of comes back around.
It's pretty simple to predict where most of the stuff goes.
And this is not a movie that's going to surprise you. Hell, the surprise villain, yes, there is one. No, I didn't technically take the bet, so I owe you Jack. But the surprise villain is not that surprising. You're just like, okay, he's either a red herring or he actually is the villain.
Yeah.
So you get that.
Well, he's not the villain, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you get this whole thing with it, and there's a and there's kind of points where in this first 10 minute stretch where you're like, okay, this is setting up some cool. This is going to set up what should be a really cool action sequence, and it is. It's a cool action sequence.
You know, within the first 10 minutes, you're gonna get some really cool action sequences. And the fact that it kind of moves at a good pace also is a pretty good point in the movie's favor.
Yeah, it's paced well enough that the movie feels longer in a good way. Like you feel like a lot of time has passed. Like you're getting a lot out of this, even though it's like when it comes to movies, this is basically bite-sized.
Yeah. It's a little over it clocks in at a little over 90 minutes. It moves quick, and it's not going to kill your afternoon, so it's pretty good. So that's a pretty good point in its favor.
Yeah, this is not the kind of movie that. This is kind of the movie that you kind of decide. It's Friday nights. I got nothing else to do. There's no other really good movies that I want to see out this weekend. So yeah, why not? Yeah. And it's not gonna hurt. And it's not hurt. And it doesn't hurt you. It's not bad. It's not terrible. You just.
I believe cinematic McDonald's is how we would describe it.
It's basically how we describe Justice League, but I feel like this one fits better.
This one probably fits better. This one it's probably it's probably got a little bit less rewatchability than Justice League, but we'll see when we actually do end up rewatching it.
Yeah, but I think it's a good cable movie, like the kind of movie that you'll catch on cable in a few years, and you'll be like, this is actually pretty cool. Maybe I should pick it up on DVD. Yeah. And then you do. You pick it up.
And then it's like a rainy day. And then like on a rainy day, you can sit down and watch it. It's just an action movie you can sit down and watch. When
it comes to the Rock's movies of the last couple of years, it's not. I mean, it's not Jumanji where it was a big surprise where it's like, holy shit, this is amazing. Amazing. The sequel that they're making better not suck. But it's okay.
It's really okay. I'm glad I saw it. I love the fact that this is an original standalone movie. We're probably not going to get a sequel. We don't really need one,
especially since since Dwayne Johnson doing like 1 billion other movies coming up. He's got Jungle Cruise. He's got Jumanji 2.
He's working on Jungle Cruise right now. He's going to be going to do Jumanji 2.
Rampage might get a sequel. Rampage might get a sequel. We don't know that.
We don't know that. Probably not, but we'll see.
But The Rock has so many projects lined up that if this gets a sequel, that's going to be a lot on his plate. Yeah. Oh, we should probably talk about more than just that. Nev Campbell's character is kind of interesting, but once again, once you get to a certain point, it's like, okay, I pretty much know where you're going with a lot of this.
Yeah.
And even though there's this weird little kind of running points where the police officers are like speaking Chinese in an attempt to make an aside to her from her, but they establish pretty quick in the scene that she can speak the language.
So it kind of makes them making an aside to her kind of pointless because they know she understands them. So it's basically like not even trying to whisper or anything.
So they might as well be speaking full voice English in front of her. So I felt that was kind of a weird thing to incorporate into the scene there.
There's a couple of plot holes that I found that I was thinking about that I caught almost immediately in the scene. Like there's a tablet involved where they have to use Dwayne Johnson's character's face to unlock it, and then they almost
immediately drop it.
And then they run off. Then they try to steal it, but they kind of forget the fact that they need to use facial recognition.
But then they go and get it.
Then they go and get it. Then they go and end up getting it anyway, and then they use the facial recognition on him.
And then they just completely drop the whole bit of the subplot.
But but when they were first stealing it, what was the plan? Because they knew
there was facial recognition for it,
and they knew they weren't going to be able to unlock it. So what would taking it just taking the tablet would have accomplished unless they had Dwayne Johnson?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they weren't thinking that. Maybe they weren't thinking that through. I don't know. I wasn't in the writers' room when they were putting this when everyone was putting this together. But either way, look, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt to sit through.
It was actually a really good sit, really fun time. it's like an 80s action movie with slightly better special effects.
Yeah, and the fact that the building was actually designed by the guy who designed the Burj Khalifa, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So we got that going for it. Anything else?
I have nothing. Oh, well, I guess the score, Steve Jablonsky's score was pretty generic 80s action score. Was a pretty just generic action score, so not much to talk about
It's
there.
basically what you get with a Jablonsky score. I mean, the guy scored all 5 Transformers movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically it. This is it's an okay movie. It's not mind-blowingly more than we expected it to be, but it's exactly what we wanted. It's a dumb action movie where The Rock is just The Rock.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's it for right now, guys. So be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe, and be sure to tune in next time when I think we're gonna go on another little run this time. But we're gonna actually do it this time.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's light the fuse.
Okay.